The Celtics Talk podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England.
What's up, everybody? Postgame pod coming to you after the Celtics hold on for a 115-113 win over the Brooklyn Nets. A little dicier at the finish line than it needed to be, but the Celtics, despite being a little shorthanded, no Derrick White, Jaylen Brown has to depart with a little back spasm, something we'll be keeping an eye on moving forward. But the big story in the game, Kristaps Porzingis, 24 points, 9 of 16 shooting, including 8 of 9 inside the three-point arc. He plays nearly 32 minutes in this game. So Joe said before the game that Kristaps Porzingis was going to be on a minute restriction, and then he played more minutes than he averages for the season. Joe did say that he thought 32 would be about the cap for where he'd play. But Kristaps ends up playing the entire fourth quarter. They needed him in that fourth quarter because without Derrick White or someone to keep you afloat in those non-Tatum minutes, it was really Porzingis and a little bit of Payton Pritchard in the bench that kept this team in it and kept the Nets at bay enough to ensure that they never came fully from behind to make this thing interesting. But we know how it goes, too, with the Celtics. No 20-point lead is safe with this squad. The more interesting part, and you'll hear this later in the pod, is Kristaps sort of opened up about the whole experience, about not being out there for 8 games and the sort of the roller coaster of trying to get back out there. And it's really a nice look inside what was going on behind the scenes. Essentially, to sum it up, is gets this mystery illness. They tested for, I suspect, flu, COVID, the same stuff that when anybody who gets sick this time of year is trying to check for, but he admitted that he just kept feeling kind of fatigued, especially after trying to go through workouts once he felt good enough to start ramping back up. And the whatever it was, some sort of upper respiratory infection, he mentioned bronchitis, it just kept sapping his energy. I thought it was really cool that he mentioned about how he goes through a practice, it looks like he's getting close, comes to that Lakers game, and really thinks he's going to play. Came in with that nice suit, but he went through a 15-minute warm-up, and watching it, you could just tell he wasn't himself, didn't have his zest, and he just comes to the realization that he's just not going to be able to help the Celtics on that night. And so pretty much says, hey, let's not push it. Ends up sitting out the Oklahoma City game, the Miami game, and finally coming back tonight. It's nice that he was rewarded with being so spry, with looking like he didn't have a whole lot of rust, that he looked a lot like the KP that we expect. Although I will say on this night, I did not expect that because I did think there would be some lingering effects. It's rather wild that someone could be out for over 2 weeks and come back and look as good as Kristaps did. He was great around the basket. He had a poster dunk at one point in the fourth quarter and was staring down the fans beyond the baseline. He had finally got a 3 to fall in that fourth quarter. Scores 14 of his 24 points in that fourth frame. A very Derrick White-like performance in the fourth quarter from KP. And I don't do this to make fun of it or make little of what he went through, but there's a great line that you'll hear where KP says he couldn't even get out of bed to make coffee. And I think you just have to understand every day sometimes feels like it revolves around the coffee for Kristaps, and the afternoon cappuccino, and sometimes I'm walking around in Boston around the Celtics facility. You might see him at a local coffee shop, and we know how important that is to him. There's a great story about Jordan Walsh getting a bag of coffee from Kristaps last year and being like, one, he doesn't even drink coffee, and two, he doesn't have a coffee grinder. Like, what was he even supposed to do with it? So it's just telling that Kristaps was pretty down and out from this thing, and he admits he was a little bit worried that it could be even more nefarious, that it could have been something that they would have had to attack. And so I think there's a great sense of relief, and especially once you see how good he was in this game, to be able to come back with very limited ramp up and to be that sharp is pretty impressive. I know the 3-point shot didn't fall early. I'm pretty confident based on the way he shot it once he came back from the foot injury or foot surgery in the offseason. That's going to be just fine. But he was fantastic in this game. Celtics obviously don't win it without what Kristaps did out there on the floor, and just glad that he's been able to sort of turn this corner. You start looking ahead, it's intriguing that maybe the Celtics will finally get a chance to get all of their starters back out there. Could hinge on the severity of Jaylen Brown's injury. Joe didn't, at least in the feed that we saw, did not get questioned about it. I would suspect that given the tenor of the game, the fact that it's Brooklyn, that you're going to err on the side of caution. But anytime someone leaves with back issues, something to keep an eye on moving forward. But you do start thinking Celtics have 2 days off now before they play these Nets again. I wonder if there's a chance we see this team in full. The starters have not played together. This preferred starting five with Kristaps, Drew Holiday, Derrick White, Jayson, and Jaylen since February 23rd. They've only played 308 total minutes. They're a minus in the net rating right now. This could be an opportunity to get those guys some more time together. They were really bad at the start. Once Kristaps came back, and that was maybe to be expected, you're kind of trying to find what made you good last year. They've been better in recent outings, but still a limited amount of games, only 20 games together. So really hope that group gets some time here over the final 14 to find what made it so good in the postseason. Tap into like what the rotation will look like. When can you go double big off that group? Being able to fold Al Horford in there and go double big with Kristaps, one of the better lineups for the team this year. And Luke's been so good. I think this team could really even kick it up another level if everyone's healthy, and hope we get to see that soon. Speaking of Luke Cornett, Scal ends up giving him the Tommy Award, and it was well deserved. Luke was everywhere. Had maybe his one of his better first halves of the season. Felt like he was everywhere. He joked the other night on the Jumbotron. The Celtics were asking, "What are you an expert on?" And players had to decide how to answer that very open-ended question. And Luke said he is the team expert in emotional availability. It's a very Luke-like answer. Tonight he was the team leader in physical availability. It felt like Tatum and Drew Holiday and Payton Pritchard were constantly throwing lobs up at the rim, and Luke was there to make the Nets pay without their typical bigs on the back line. And so Luke continues to be a revelation for this team. It continues to be criminal that Brad Stevens was able to get him back on a minimum contract when there should have been teams lining up to pay him to be a depth big or maybe even a starting big the way he plays. Really, really rewarding that Luke, with his decision to come back to familiarity, to knowing his role here, to knowing he can help this team, the levity that he brings to that locker room. He is a key piece of the success the last season plus, and it's good that more people are starting to recognize the impact on the court. The only surprise, I think he finishes 0 in plus minus, which normally he's just off the charts there, but might have been on the court when Nets made their late rally and chipped in to that. Payton Pritchard, it's not every day you break an NBA record, but he now has 220 3-pointers off the bench this season, eclipsed the mark previously held by Wayne Ellington, who had just slipped past Terrence Ross back in, I think, 2017-18. Like we joke all the time about Tatum muscling out somebody in the Celtics record book. For Payton Pritchard, already having that 40-40 game with Derrick White a couple weeks ago, now in the NBA record books for most threes off the bench. Speaks to how good he's been in that role this season. Speaks to how the Celtics have kept him coming off the bench, and in part because of the spark and the continuity that brings. Pritchard goes for, I believe this was his 21st game with 5+ 3-pointers and his 20th 20-point or more game of the season. He's already had a pretty good hold on that 6th Man of the Year award. The last few games haven't been his finest work, especially against like Oklahoma City and some of the better teams in that mix. But good to see him kind of crank it back up here, be a little bit more assertive, especially on a night where the Celtics, even though I think they got 6 guys in double figures and Jaylen was at 8 before he left the game, Payton was key in getting it. He also was key late in the game, making some free throws. He ended up missing, so he had 2 sets of free throws at the end of the game to make sure that to kind of stiff arm the Nets. He missed the last of those 4 free throws, and the Nets never even got a shot off because there wasn't enough time. They didn't have a timeout. So Payton helping getting the Celtics to the finish line of this win. A satisfying win. I'm going to say, the Celtics, I want to say the biggest lead was maybe 21 or 23. 21 was the biggest lead. It got a lot closer. They got to 5 a couple times in the third quarter, the fourth quarter. Never felt like it was going to quite break through. but they got it down to 2 with about 7 minutes to go, and that's when KP just took over. He kind of faked a handoff, went to the basket. He hit the straightaway 3, the only 3 he hit. Got the poster dunk. I mean, he was just awesome. But I could sit here and ramble about it all night. Here's more from our post-game show on how good KP was.
Are you ready to enter the realm of affordable luxury? Drew Carter here at 24 Infinity of Plymouth, your go-to destination for affordable luxury.
Right now, lease a new Infinity QX60 Lux for just $569 a month. Or lease a new QX80 Sensory for $1099 a month.
Ready to trade and upgrade? You'll get top dollar for your trade. Visit 24 Infinity of Plymouth at 151 Samoset Street and online at 24infinityofplymouth.com.
KP, a little too close for comfort there, but you guys got the win. You didn't seem to miss a beat. How did it feel in the return?
At first, I felt a little out of rhythm. I'm not going to lie. First few shots were a bit bricky. But as the game went on, I felt better and better. And happy to be back.
Yeah, you came through, played the entire fourth quarter, scored 14 points. How did you maintain your wind through all of that absence?
Actually, good question. I was not feeling. I'm not feeling in shape yet. You know, it's been tough these last couple weeks, but you know, in these kind of moments, you just gotta bite down and bring something from deep. You know, and that's what I try to do. And I'm just happy we got the win.
This team clinched a playoff spot last night, playing on the second night of a double-double, or back-to-back, excuse me. But what is it about this group? No matter who's in or who's out, you guys continue to stack wins.
Yeah, I think it's like our talent and our character as a team. Especially it starts with JT. You know, he wants to play in all the games. You know, and he kind of sets the example for the team. And we have guys like Al, Drew, the ultimate professionals. Also, you know, we just have a high character group, as I've said before, and this is normal for us.
Kristaps, thank you. Congratulations. This crowd was excited to see you back.
Thank you very much.
Kristaps Porzingis saying, and I get it, right? Because he, didn't shoot all that well from downtown, 1 of 7. But if this is an kind of a KP that we're getting after missing 8 straight, and Eddie Scal said this mid-broadcast. He didn't think that he looked rusty. You could expect him to be like, what kind of Kristaps are we going to get here in this one? How healthy, how unhealthy is he? And it really didn't look like he missed much at all.
No, just his first couple shots. Like he said, when he first got out there to get back in rhythm, he shot, what was it, air ball? But after he got it back going, he was scoring every which way you could score. If it was in the mid-range, if it was all the way at the basket, if he knocked down the 1-3, but what he did was put a lot of pressure on the interior defense of the Brooklyn Nets. And I mean, finishing at the rim, I thought he had a phenomenal game. I thought his floor game was really good, where he picked and chose his spots. That's why we led in points in the paint. And the last few games, we haven't been there because we were missing him.
Yeah, I was going to say 52 points in the paint. You can see the obvious difference. It's just such a luxury when the things are kind of sputtering or you just need a bucket. To be able to toss it in there, it just blows my mind that he's this fluid coming back from missing 8 games, and he's just kind of knows how to get to the rim, doing the dunks. I mean, I don't know. I want to see what the next level of KP is, and this is what gives you great hope, is that we haven't seen the starting group as whole since February 23rd. And if KP's playing like this, and if you get everybody healthy, and if you get a chance to get a look at how it looks, you can really get some mojo before the postseason. But, man, if that's
that is all I need to hear. If he's telling Abby, listen, I'm not even at full strength yet ahead of the playoffs, good sign from Kristaps Porzingis. He showed it out here tonight. This is the season series against Brooklyn. You saw they got the first 2, the Celtics pulling out the wins in November. They did it here tonight. It came down to the wire, just a 2-point win. But hey, a win is a win. They improved now to 49 wins so far this season. They have 1 more to go. Welcome in, fellas. Drew and Scal. Here is good to see Kristaps Porzingis back in the mix here. Scal, what are your impressions of him?
He didn't look rusty to me. I thought he was going to only play like a short stint. And I don't know if Eddie agrees with this. Like you think about a guy coming back from injury, you work him back in. You think a guy coming back from illness, I don't know how much exercise he's been doing. Is he getting on the bike? Is he working out away from the team? But he came back, and I didn't think he looked like he was slowed down at all. So very impressive night for Porzingis tonight.
Yeah, I'm really surprised, to be honest, that he played as much as he did, that he played the entire fourth quarter. 12 minutes in a row. You know, you got TV timeouts and extra timeouts in the fourth quarter, but for him to play that entire fourth, I thought was pretty impressive and a really good sign. This is a guy who averages about 29 minutes per game for the season, and he goes over that in his first game back from illness. I mean, Scout, did you ever have a moment where you missed a bunch of time and you had to do things to stay in shape?
No, that's like Tuesday for me, man. I mean, I was always missing time trying to get back, not from being injured, just because I was sorry, you know. And they weren't, and no one was thinking about putting me out there for 30 minutes. Are you kidding? So no. So the answer is, I do know this, but when I was in college, I got sick. And you go and play the next game, man, you're just like running in mud. Like you can't break free. The next night, you feel fine again. But always it seems like your first game back from illness, you're just like a little bit rusty. I think the word is rusty. And I know he missed shots, had the air ball, but he did not look rusty.
Kristaps, how frustrating was that illness? And did you ever kind of figure out what it was?
Yeah, it was extremely frustrating, just not knowing what I had, you know, and you know, there's, at the end it was some sort of, I don't know exactly, but I think it was some sort of like upper respiratory thing that turned into like something heavier, like a bronchitis is the word, yeah, something like that along those lines. But I was really, like, I haven't been this sick for probably ever in my life, so I was really like for a week, really like just laying at home. Trying to recover, and after that I still had like lingering fatigue, and I still have it a little bit, but at least I'm now getting into more or less shape to be able to play. But yeah, it was after each workout I was big crash. I was really fatigued, like not normal. So yeah, it's taking a little bit longer, but I'm doing everything, like all my biohacking stuff that I know, and just trying to get back in the best shape possible.
You said that in your tweet the other night that it was kind of mysterious. You didn't know what it was for a while. What was it testing like to kind of figure that out? How long did it take before you kind of knew something about what?
No, I mean, we knew right away because my like immune system was up. It was really down, and so we knew that like I'm fighting some virus, but we just didn't know exactly. We did a bunch of testing. Some testing came back negative. I'm not sure about the other one that took even longer, but we did it pretty late already, you know. And then nothing came back that we can like say, oh, okay, this. But you know, from the symptoms and the stuff that I had, more or less, I guess this is what I had. Just was really strong. Yeah, honestly, like really strong, and took me a while to get back, but happy to be back now.
There were times like you were doubtful and then you were questionable, and Joe said, yeah, you went through parts of practice today and then you were doubtful again. Like, was it kind of an up-down thing where you thought you were getting better and then have setbacks? Or?
Correct, because I was trying to push for a Lakers game, obviously. You know, I wanted to come back. So I tried to push my body the day before. Had a hard workout, but then the crash I had was like historic. Like the next day I couldn't even get out of bed like to go just for shoot around. So I was like, okay, but you know, I'm gonna lay down, just try to get some more rest, and maybe I can get going for the night. And then I went to the arena. I tried to get some shots up, but I was just so fatigued. Like I was like, I'm not gonna be a help out there. You know, I'm gonna just hurt the team if I push myself. And that was my thinking process. Like as soon as I felt like I was gonna be able to help the team, I would, you know, push it. But you know, in that moment I was still not ready. So that's why doubtful, almost in, almost out. So that's why all this, but we got here at the end.
How did you get to that point? Like tonight you played played 32 minutes, played the entire fourth quarter. Like you didn't tell us to look like very winded out there, like in pretty good shape. Like how'd you get back to that point so fast?
Yeah, it's been work. I've been I've had like now 2-3 decent workouts, after which I had a little bit of crash, but not, you know, this type of like where I'm like, okay, like I can't get out of bed to make a coffee type. So I'm you know, I was getting better with each workout, and I was like, okay, like, you know, today I thought I was gonna play like 20 minutes, but Joe told me like mid fourth, he was like, I'm not gonna take you out, so just bite down and let's go. I said, okay, let's go. Got some sugar in my system and just push through. And at the end, 31, 32 minutes, decent game.
How do you feel now?
Feeling all right. I think so far like no crazy fatigue yet. I hope that's it, But even if there is some tomorrow, I'll do all my red light and all the rest of the stuff that I know helps me. And and we have 2 days now, I think, until next one. So perfect.
Was it ever like scary that you couldn't figure out what was wrong? Was it, obviously it's frustrating when you're not getting better. You just said you haven't been sick like that ever. Were you ever worried?
Yeah, I mean there was some ideas of what it could have been, some heavier stuff, but I was just hoping it would not be that. But if it was that, it's like okay, how can I recover as soon as possible, But I'm happy that the main test came back negative, which was the heavier stuff, and this mononucleosis. I don't know in English. Mononucleosis in Spanish. So this was with a little bit of worry, but that came back negative, and I was like, okay, so it's some pretty strong illness, but got back healthy.
Felt great. Really looking forward to when we have everybody, but obviously we missed the big fella, and what he brings, his presence on the offensive end, really makes it tough for teams to switch us. When they do, we can punish them. So it's great to have him back.
You said that a couple times. Like over the course of last season, you guys, when you had your starters, you guys were pretty dominant. This year, it's been around even. I think the limited time you guys have been together, is it just a simple fact that you guys haven't had a lot of time out there that's led to that, or are you excited to get an extended stretch here with everybody available?
I think some truth to that. Just we haven't had much time together, but we know what we can do when everybody's out there.
How impressive was it? It felt like KP didn't miss a beat after 8 games.
Yeah, super talented guy, works really hard, got himself ready to come out here, and he knows how to play, and it was just good to see him in a good rhythm and some shots to go down, and just attacking the switches and making us that much more dynamic.
Payton set the new record for most threes off the bench by an NBA player in a season. You've been on his teammate even when he hasn't had really any opportunities on the court. What have you seen out of just his growth over the past few years to the point where he's now kind of holds that record and others?
Yeah, congrats to him. Anytime you hold a record in the NBA, regardless of whatever it is special. So I'm happy for him. He works really, really hard. Everybody knows that. And his ability to stretch the floor and kind of take over in stretches sometimes has really helped us. And obviously, he helped us win a championship. So we're very, very lucky to have him.
If you count the amount of timely shots that he's hitting and the timely offensive rebounds that he's gotten, he had one tonight coming out of the timeout when they went zone in the corner. But just has an ability to impact the game in so many ways and just continues to get better and better. And, his competitive nature and work ethic's unreal. So that's an awesome thing. And it takes a special person to fulfill that role. And he takes pride in it and does it every day.
Broke the record. Most threes off the bench in a single season. What does that mean?
Just means I did my job off the bench at a high level, and hopefully I can continue to do that.
You have 14 games left. Was this a goal that you had for this season?
To break the record? Nah, there's no records, there's no awards that I ever look at. It's all about self-improvement, looking at every game, what can I do to keep growing and keep bettering myself, and ultimately that's all that matters to me. It's just trying to take another step. So, hopefully I can keep that going.
Did you know when you broke the record?
I didn't know how many, what amount of threes I had to hit. I knew I was particularly close. I figured I had a chance this game, but I didn't know which one, so.
All right, up next, a familiar opponent. It's the Brooklyn Nets again on Tuesday night. Celtics get a couple days off, come back to Boston, get Sunday, Monday to recuperate. A rare practice on Monday, which is good for a team that hasn't had a lot of those opportunities, and you don't have to dive too deep into the scouting report. The more important part about this game is that it's going to be NBC Sports Boston's all-female broadcast. Abby and Jackie McMullen part of the commentating crew with Diamond DeShields of the Connecticut Sun. Kayla is going to hold it down on pregame and postgame live from the concourse at TD Garden. And it's going to be a super fun night. It's I really love that we get to put the spotlight on it. You guys know how much I think of Abby, and it doesn't matter if she's in the podcast chair, if she's on sideline. She crushes whatever we throw her way. Can't wait to see her thrust into the play-by-play role, and I suspect she will be, just like everything else, great at that. I have a great fondness for Jackie McMullen. You guys probably know when I first broke into this covering the Celtics, Jackie was with me at ESPN and ESPN Boston days. And honestly, I just never would be where I am now if it wasn't for the way that Jackie guided me, showed me how to do this job, and not that I've ever done it at a level close to what she does. But when you watch, this is the way I think players got to feel when they're playing alongside a Jayson Tatum, a Jaylen Brown, or Larry Bird, whatever you want to call it, like a true great. You can't help but learn good habits, learn how to be a pro, how you're supposed to go about your job. And even all these years later, I'm still marvel at the way Jackie does it. And she's involved with the Celtic City doc, and she's kind enough to do some segments with us for when Michael Hawley kind of breaking down that Celtic City documentary. I can't wait to hear her thoughts on this year's team. We don't have enough of her voice around the team the last two seasons because she's still so tuned in, so plugged into what players think and all the behind the scenes stuff. And I think it's going to be a really, really entertaining broadcast to hear her and Abby and Diamond DeShields and everybody kind of giving their take on this Celtic squad. Selfishly, I don't like to not be a part of these things, but obviously I love that we put the attention on all of our female superstars, and I'll probably still bomb in and do the pod from some location. I'm actually hoping to be over at the Garden and just get to experience it, and it's always cool to kind of see it from a fan perspective. I think I've told you guys in the past. I was doing an event with the Celtics a week ago, and people were asking how I even got involved with covering the team, and my friends bought season tickets back in 2007, 08, so right before the championship season. But the idea was they thought that when the Celtics were so bad the year before that they were going to get Greg Oden or Kevin Durant, and then, well, that didn't happen. The ping pong balls defied the Celtics, or maybe it was a good thing they defied the Celtics. So Danny Ainge and co. go to work and get Ray Allen. They go get KG, and all of a sudden it was one of the most magical seasons to be a part of. Well, one of those friends that had bought season tickets, he got a job with an NBA team out in Los Angeles, not the bad one, the Clippers. And so my other buddy needed someone to go to the games with, and I was kind of a lapsed NBA fan. I grew up in the Jordan era and when the Celtics weren't so great in the 90s. And I kind of lost my love of covering the game, but being a fan reinvigorated me. And by kind of just dumb luck, I ended up helping cover the 2007-08 finals. And one of my first road trips as a journalist was to go out to LA for the Boston Globe. And so, but my long-winded way of saying, like, it's really cool to go back and just be a fan. Got a little bit of it the night Mike Tirico was here. I got to sit in the crowd with Drew, and I'm excited to just sit back with y'all and watch and just enjoy a game, and then I'll sneak onto the pod and do some recap. But watching a game over the Garden, and there's nothing better, and I'm always appreciative of all of the energy the fans bring, and to just be a part of that will be super cool. So Abby, Jackie, Kayla, everybody, go crush it on Tuesday. You all got to tune in. That's going to be a fantastic broadcast. We'll be back here after that game on Tuesday night. So go go subscribe, go check us out on the YouTube page. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk podcast.